Yeah, hello and welcome to this video which covers the first round of this year's Tata Steel tournament. First of all, I have to say that this is my second take of this video. I already made one right after the round was finished, but this for for unclear reasons did not have sound. This video hopefully has. I really don't know what went wrong there. The second thing I have to mention is, and this is important, during the event I'm going to just do the daily round recaps, but I'm not going to do the daily blitz videos. I'm a little bit short of time, and currently yeah, I have to focus on one thing, which will be the coverage of the tournament. So let's get going with round one. Yeah, doing this again is kind of funny. Okay, we're going to focus on I'm not going to look at all the games. I just look at the things that I feel worth watching. In the first round, we had the game Wesley So against Magnus Carlsen. We can just quickly look at this because it's the number 1 seed, the world champion, and the second highest seed. It was, however, a really boring game. Everything else would be, yeah, too much. We have this line, a solid line in the Slav, and yeah, we got lots of trades early on, and now we got this position here after move 15, and I don't think I'm wrong in saying that you don't need to be 2,800 not to lose this position. It's just completely dead equal, and they made a couple of moves and then agreed to a draw. It was just not much going on at all. The games that I want to look at a little bit, at least some critical moments, is this one. Where is it? Yes. The game between Adiban and Luc van Vele. Adiban is a very interesting player, by the way. It's not very well known, but won last year's Challenger tournament, and this way qualified for this event. He's a really fighting player. So if you want to watch fighting chess, Adiban is one of the people to watch out for. Here he played the c3 Sicilian, a bit of a surprise, not exactly an aggressive line, and Adiban is very good at the open Sicilian, so surprising that he did not go for that against Van Vele. We got a fairly natural development for both sides here with b6, but knight d6 initiated some interesting complications. And we had a situation a little bit later where Van Vele had to make a choice. Here, this is a very double-edged position. The pawn on d6 is, yeah, it's a bit alone. It's not clearly supported by white's pieces, but still irritates black. Of course, black cannot take due to bishop takes h7 discoveries. So white posted up the knight on e5 and got very active pieces. Yeah, the critical moment comes a little bit later. We're going to fast forward to that. b3, yeah, very active, getting rid of the c4 pawn and now taking. Now we see that white has two passes, connected passes. This is a little bit behind, but just imagine c4, c5 will completely bulldoze black if that happens. The b3 pawn could be dangerous for white, but is also currently unsupported. Knight d5 and queen d4 by Adiban, now initiating play against the king and potentially make a discovered check to win the rook on f8. So Van Vele now has to answer a question, what to do about this threat. And he had two moves that mostly came into consideration. Queen to b6 and queen to f6. And choosing between the two wasn't easy at all. He went queen to f6, which proved to be a mistake. Queen b6 was better, and after that, white is better but not winning. Yeah, it's tough to play still. Yeah, something like this. This looks like it falls, but black has a counter attack against this. So here, white is a bit better, but Van Vele certainly has good chances to hold. This is what he played, queen to f6. And now this is a really interesting situation. Adhiban here had roughly 10 minutes, and you have to make a decision now what to do. Of course, the white idea, the general idea, is very obvious. He wants to push the pawns and promote them. So the problem here is not to find your plan. The problem is to, how to set this plan into motion, how to actually get it on the board. He had now the option to play c4 immediately, thus moving the pawns as quickly as possible, or see the position or look at the position in a little bit of a different way, check for counterplay. In fact, here after c4, black got counterplay with knight to f4. This move looks at g2, combined power of the bishop and the knight, and white now has to answer a question. How do you cover g2? You cannot answer it like that. This looks quite bad. We can analyze this a little bit, but first of all I want to show you that there is an alternative. Here, in fact, the best move seems to be bishop back to f1. What is the purpose? This is a prophylactic move. The bishop covers g2 so that a potential knight f4 is completely losing all of its sting. If black now plays knight f4, we can just ignore this and play g3. Ignore is the wrong word, but there is no threat. The bishop is covering all the critical squares, and black basically has to go back, and then we have c4 and so on. Knight to f4 was the counterplay idea, and with bishop f1 that could have been completely killed off. In fact, it turns out that after c4, knight f4 in the game, black is okay. However, the lines that are connected with this assessment are extremely difficult to work out during the game. Adhiban now, with not much time on the clock, played bishop c6, which is the best move actually. The interesting thing is that the immediate pawn push, which is certainly the most critical move, does not work. Knight g2 and now c6. This looks very obvious. Funny enough, after this, black has the move rook a5 and wins with this move. I know it sounds crazy, but this is the only move that wins for black. If it wasn't for this move, white would actually be okay. Crazy. Thing is, those kind of complications are very difficult to assess, especially with limited time. Oftentimes you can ease your life by flicking in a good prep move, a good prophylactic move like this one. It's very difficult to do with little time, but this is a very nice example. After the counterplay with knight f4 is out of the picture, white almost wins automatically. Here you don't have much, there's not much chance of error. The best move according to the computer is this one, but this is a move that probably no human would play, because after the simple queen trade and something like rook b1 or any normal move, white is just clearly better with his two pawns. So that was an excellent chance for Adhiban. After c4, knight f4, he played this bishop c6, and we got this ending now. In fact, he got some chances later, but at the end, it was a draw. A big opportunity that was missed by the Indian player. Okay, let's focus now on the main game from round one. The game between Pavel Elyanov and Hungarian Grandmaster Richard Rapport. Rapport is one of the most creative players around, and he did not disappoint here in the first round. So all looks normal, and now Rapport does not play a standard move like knight to f6 or something like this. He goes g5, all of a sudden pushing the g pawn. Yeah, I have to admit that I always have mixed feelings when I see those kind of concepts in games. On the one hand, as a pure spectator, of course, I like the creativity. On the other hand, as a chess teacher, it always gives me some uneasy feelings because it's one of those cases, you know, if you break rules, and G5 does break some rules, you got to know them first. Is one of the things that I feel one of the things that's really appropriate. There are times in chess where you can twist and bend the rules a little bit, but it's useful to know them first. And if you study chess and you are new at chess, it makes sense to play in a more classical and more standard way, and only later try to understand when you can bend those classical principles a little bit better. So I always feel like stuff like that sets bad examples for chess students. On the objective side, this move isn't all that bad. Interestingly enough, we get a position that is kind of well known, but with the pawns back here. So black has invested one tempo to get this extended fianchetto instead of a standard fianchetto. And it's not like G5 is weakening terminally. The way it turned out, actually, here after this, Report played F5, gaining lots of space. This position seems perfectly fine for black. D4, B6, and I think black's position is totally okay. He's gained lots of time, and there are no weaknesses really. Funny enough, Report had this on the board before. I have to check the opponent against the player Abramovich, rated 2,400, so probably an IM or GM, just roughly 2.5 years ago. In this game, the white player played D5, which I think is pretty bad, to be honest. And after this, Report got a pretty good position, I think. The E5 knight is very good. And white's whole structure looks questionable. White can never, in such a situation, grab the exchange. Yeah, if we look at this, this is extremely bad. This is attacked. Knight F3 looks terrible. So that was an earlier game of this from Report's tournament practice. Yeah, so this was played by Elyanov, castles, Queen E2, and E5. So black actually has gained lots of central ground. This G5 move looked a bit, exotic, but at the end it was a healthy, or the start of a center-based healthy strategy. Rook D1, and now Report decided to change the structure in the center. He took on D4. It seems that now Elyanov should have just recaptured with the e-pawn. This would have led to a very complicated position that is not easy to assess, at least for me. Black should go e4. And here, after bishop f4, maybe d5 is possible. Black has gained lots of ground, and in the process, some white pieces don't actually look all that good. The bishop here feels passive, the knight feels passive. On the other hand, we should never forget that black has moved tons of his pawns, and the black king's position can feel a little bit shaky if pieces get traded. Currently, black's king is well shielded by pieces, but if they get traded, the king could become a problem. This position is probably about equal. In the game, Elyanov played this move, and this could have been punished probably. But in this critical situation, Report does not find the best continuation. It seems that the best move in this position is the move bishop a6. This is directly looking at the queen and initiates some interesting complications. White now can, theoretically speaking, win the exchange. Check. But this is a very risky business. If he takes this, we already see that the light squares are very weak on the white side. And after something like this, oops, what happened here? The pawn on c4 is extremely vulnerable. Black will probably win a pawn and then has a fantastic compensation. I think here it's just a question of how much better is black. So taking on e7 is extremely risky. Probably white will just recapture, and then we get a comparable position to the one before, but I think a little bit better in comparison. e4 now again, and now the knight on d5 is actually threatened. After something like knight f4, black can even ignore this knight e6 idea by playing d5. Note how active this bishop is on a6. Something like this, for example, black can play bishop takes or just move the queen. There's nothing wrong with that either. Something like that is giving black absolutely tremendous compensation. He's got a pawn for the exchange, a great space advantage. d4 is weak. It's really good. It's really good for black. So that bishop a6 move, it feels like after that white is struggling. d3, however, was played by report, and this turns out to be probably a mistake. After the capture, he played e4. The idea seems to be, or it was his idea, to put the knight on e5 and then have those jumps. But as we will see in the game, a couple of moves later, if that happens, it doesn't really hurt white, because white can always sacrifice the exchange. And looking at the situation that we had after the sacrifice, we can fast forward there, you can hardly call this a sacrifice. I think almost every decent player would just immediately give this exchange, because the compensation is tremendous. White has got a pawn, he's got a great knight on d4, and the knight on d4 has some nice alternatives even. There's f4 as a good square, or d5. The bishop on g2 is great, and black has a couple of weak pawns, f5, d6, and long term it's the king position. So here white's compensation is great. In addition, I mean, it's objectively very, very good, and in addition, it's extremely difficult for black to play this position, because it's such an uncoordinated configuration that he has. We look at this. Note also that black has rooks that don't do anything. There is no open file, and black has very little prospects of opening a file. A knight is just a lot stronger here. A little bit later here, report tried something desperate with a6, trying to play b5, but it's just not a good position. Knight b6, grab this pawn. And white does not want to trade queens. This is important. With the black king being so exposed, you want to keep the queens on. Unless you win like a huge material. But normally the queens should stay on. Now there's rook d5 coming. And after rook d5, he in fact report resigned. It's an easy job now for white. He will just collect this. And if we do a count, 7 pawns, white has 3 pawns for the exchange now. And the pawns will just easily advance in the nearest future. So a bit of a shame. Report's creative opening play was not rewarded. If he would have played bishop a6 here, that looked very okay for black. So this somewhat risky looking opening choice turned out well for him at first, but then it's a difficult to handle situation, and he didn't do it as he didn't play it as well as he should. Okay, this was the somewhat late round 1 coverage. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm going to do the round 2 coverage shortly afterwards, so those 2 videos will probably be released at almost the same time. Thanks for watching.